is when you got me the 4 minute one, right? Wasn't
Yeah,
that Tuesday?
yeah.
So all you can do now is we just take the same promo piece and just change the date on the promo piece, and everything else stay the same.
I have people on here, believe it or not.
Okay, I okay.
So, one of the things that people are resilient, right?
Yeah,
They
that part's
find
true.
a way to make things happen. So I have Arlene, I have Nicolette. Uh, you guys, thank you for being here. Two amazing women, by the way. Amazing. And what we want to talk about, I think we should just go for it, even though we had a little bit of a hiccup. What are your thoughts? Yeah.
Sure.
So let's go for it. And let's just start talking about a couple of the things that are very important to us. One of the things that I definitely want to do is obviously introduce you to everybody. So, a lot of times, and I've been thinking about this, you send me your bio, I send you mine, and we can talk about, how awesome we think the other person is. But sometimes what I like, and of course, you know, I love you, man. But the thing that I think that will help some people understand is when it's genuine and it comes from your own words. Tell me if you think that's okay or not okay. Otherwise, I have no problem introducing you, of course.
Well, I think it should always be when introducing someone in any environment, it should be uh, bullet points
Yeah,
that should be covered, and then the person covers it in their own words. But they cover the bullet points. These are the key points, and then they can say whatever way is most comfortable for them to be able to say it. Because we want to remember that sometimes what we think is of interest, and that's one of the challenges with every business owner. What we think everyone's interested in is usually absolutely wrong. And the reason why is because we're not them. And one of the my biggest challenges in business was finding out that genuinely, as it relates to customers, I'm wrong 100% of the time, not 50 or 90, 100% of the wrong. And the reason why
yes,
is I'm not the customer. So my vote doesn't even count. So even as it comes from introduction, I think when someone says, or when we're introducing a person, if you will, we should have those things in mind, that it would be bullet points that are must covers, but we certainly can cover them, in ways that are genuine and comfortable with us, with
without
our
a
own
doubt.
verbiage.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I have some things going on here because for me, if I don't have a challenge, what am I doing? Yeah, I found my challenge over here on my other laptop. So I have several computers going on right now. I know I'm a little nuts, but without being crazy, how do we make life interesting? Thoughts on that? So yeah, actually, let me tell some people here about you because you and I found each other through Podmatch, and you were on my podcast. And an amazing story that you told me is, you know, your humble beginnings, right? You were son of a milkman. You helped deliver milk back in the day when people used to do that. And then you became a janitor. So while being a janitor, you met Sam Robbins, who actually has impacted your life and even probably till today, right? So Sam took you under his wing. He mentored you. And because of all that mentoring, all the thing, you've turned it around and you actually interviewed over a thousand millionaires on business and on your radio talk show that you used to have across the US and Canada, right? So you're very high end results oriented, right? You receive easily $1,500 per hour on your business advice. So for the fact that you're willing to share some of that advice for free today, it's mind boggling. So people understand your value, and that's why they're willing to pay you so much money, because everything that we do in life has to have value. When the way we do all different things in life, the fact that we're asking people to spend some of their time with us today so we can share our knowledge and maybe help them along the way. So, with that said, you are an amazing human being, and I'm so happy that we made a connection.
Thank you so much for that, those kind words. And that was pretty much the way I wrote it. No.
Come on now.
Thank God, I'm glad you're able to, you follow right through that press release. So thank you so much. And I really need to, the credit needs to go towards, an amazing mentor that really helped put together those burnout wires that I had such an early age. And I really was the son of a milkman. And I'm always glad when someone finishes a sentence with milkman instead of that other word, son of a milkman. And
Son of a milkman.
yeah, right. Son of a milkman. And and Sam, he was an amazing thing. Just to share a story of how extraordinary he really, really was. And I was so blessed to meet him. And it just shows you in life when we throw something out there, because of my story with June Martino from McDonald's, and she had the third most controlling style at McDonald's, and she's the one that first really inadvertently got me involved with, I didn't even know what a mentor was, other than the fact that Ray Kroc taught her, and brought her under her wing, and I knew I needed a Ray Kroc. And so Sam Robbins became my Ray Kroc. And just to let you know how amazing he really was, and this is a story in future interviews. I'm getting ready to start another round, if you will. I've done over 100 since April, and
Wow.
I've been very fortunate to do those, and I've just met some extraordinary people, and so many of them. And so with the second round, I'll be talking more about communities and how important those are, and how so many communities today really aren't communities. They call them that,
Right.
but it's a misappropriation of a label. They really, join my community. It really is join my customer list or my prospect list. That's really what it is. It's not join my community. We should call it what it is. And so I'm going to be going through a lot of those details, the difference between what I call giver communities and taker communities, which I think is going to be very, very interesting for people.
Mhm.
But to share a story with you about Sam, just to let you know how extraordinary he really was. Um, During the Depression, obviously people lost fortunes.
Mm.
There were full-blown soup lines, people standing in long lines to get soup.
Right.
Literally just to eat, and I mean long lines going around blocks and for miles, if you will, and so it was very difficult times, and people were even jumping off of buildings. The suicide rate went crazy because of people losing their fortunes and thinking everything's so hopeless, et cetera, et cetera. So here's my business mentor walking by a store every day. I mean, he was, during that time, and he looked in the window and he saw it was a sewing machine store. And clearly, all the stores were like desert towns. I mean, no one walked in and out of stores other than maybe, a grocery store here and there, but people didn't even have money, so they weren't even barely doing that, right? So no one was walking out of stores. So he walked by the sewing machines place, and he saw no one was in there. And it just, a light went on in his head, and he went in and told the business owner and just started talking with him. I mean, the guy had all the time in the world. There was no customers. And he said, I see all these sewing machines around here, and it looks like they're collecting dust. He says, yeah, no one's got money to buy a sewing machine now.
Right.
He goes, well, could I sell some of them? Could I sell some of them for you? The
Mm.
guy says, yeah, can you sell some? You better believe you can.
Yeah.
He said, well, I have something unusual in mind. He said, I'd like to sell them on payments to people because no one can afford the full sewing machine cost. There's just no money there. He said, I'd like to sell it on payments if I could. And he says, and what I propose is we split the payments 50-50. And I'll guarantee the sewing machine. In other words, I'll guarantee if someone walks away with it or something. Times are a little bit different then. So, people did a lot more things on handshakes, if you will, because their word was their bond. They didn't have to contract with, fine print you had to be careful of, right? So they shook on it, and he started selling these sewing machines. And he by realizing in his mind that people needed money, he put together a very, very simple program for women to work from home because everyone needed money. So he sold the sewing machines on payments to women to work from home, right? So first, he made a commission on selling sewing machines that no one else was buying.
Yeah.
What was this? If you said, you buy a sewing machine, he said, man, I need to put food in my mouth. Why in the world would I buy a sewing machine? So he put women in business at home
Hmm.
making clothing. Then he bought the clothing from them that they made and sold it to stores as homemade clothing and handmade
Oh,
clothing that the stores turned around and sold to customers at a discounted price.
wow.
So he made money on the sewing machine. He made money on as the women, the workers, because primarily at that point it was women. The
Right.
workers, as they made money selling this clothing, so now they had an income coming in because he bought the clothing from them. So then the ones that were getting really good, he actually sold them a nicer machine. He traded in the old machine for a nice one, so their payments went up a little bit. So he
Right.
made more money. Then by buying the clothing from them, he virtually guaranteed the income for the women on the sewing machines, and he guaranteed a profit for all the stores
Oh,
who then were turning around selling the clothing. Right now, in 1 year's time, Rafael, in 1 year's time, people are jumping off of buildings, multi-mile long soup lines. He earned $1 million. Now,
that's that's genius when you
and
think of
and
it.
here and I can share with you that number one, that story I just told you has the four and only four ways. There are only four ways. And I'll say a totally different way. There's only four ways. There's
How many ways are there?
in
How
case
many
you're
ways are
wondering,
there?
this many, right? Four. There's four. There's only four ways to grow any business for someone starting out a business or currently has a business. That's it. There's only four ways, and every other way is within one of those four ways. And I can share with you that story I mentioned to you of my business mentor has all four ways in it of growing a business. It is back to building story. And one of the things he taught me, because I found out that story about him very early, and I thought, man, I gotta tell you, I'm really impressed with this guy. This is extraordinary. Obviously he was very happy. He was very successful, a multi-millionaire, was declared the youngest millionaire at that time when he made $1 million in 1 year, when people are jumping off of buildings. So
Yeah.
you want to talk about when people say, oh, I got a business problem, I can't get customers, and we got COVID, and we got this, I just shake my head and I said, no, that's not the way it works. Those are reasons we've chosen to justify through proper skilling and learning. Those things are not obstacles, but actually represent opportunities. So my business mentor taught me you never have money problems. Because if you think you have a money problem, you're looking at it wrong.
No.
So I share with your listeners right now, you don't have money problems. You have idea problems,
Yeah.
but you don't have money problems. Because when you think about the story of my business mentor, what did he do? He didn't have any money. He started that business with no money.
Mm.
Zero. He didn't put up any capital, but he had an idea. And from that idea, he germinated and improved it. And he built in those four ways of growing a business into that story. So no one can tell me business is bad,
No.
because I can share with you that business is bad in only one place, and that's in your mind. Because there were many businesses that made fortunes during COVID as well. And so it's how you look at it and how we perceive these things determine their end result. So all the things that happened to me in my life, I was very, very blessed, very, very fortunate, earned huge sums of money at early ages. And those things weren't me. That just edifies the power of learning and implementing the right things to do. It's really just that simple, and I can share with you that, there's no such thing as a, born pilot. No such thing as a pilot. They're born and you're a pilot. There's no
No.
such thing as a born heart surgeon. These aren't born tasks. These are people learned how to do this. And I can share with you, there's no such thing as a born millionaire unless you're a foundation baby. If you're a
Yeah.
foundation baby,
That's different.
then maybe you be. And at that point, they always have their own challenges because they've never earned it themselves.
Right.
And I can share with you, I actually had an interesting interview one time with a $10 million lottery winner.
Mm.
And
And they were broke a week later.
they told me it absolutely was the worst thing
Mhm.
that ever happened in their life. And if they had the choice now to go back in time, they would rip up the tickets. Isn't it? And yet everyone invests. I win a lottery. It's my answer. They said it was the worst thing that could ever happen to them. And they genuinely, and I could tell you, they meant it. They lost all their friends. Everyone had their hand out, and the distrust level, and all these things happened that changed their life in such huge ways. So, I, the ability to learn a skill set, and that's one of the things that I enjoy doing with people and helping people, and with their businesses, if you will, and that is the ability to help them learn about the things they should be doing and learning about the things that they should not be doing. And that sort of really brings us to where we're at with some of the subject matter that I wanted to cover today, and I'll just touch on a few of them since we're going to
Please
do
do.
since we're going to do a back by demand on the amazing October 15th. Can you believe it's October 1st already? What happened in September?
I think I saw it.
I was just like, I remember seeing it on the
I
calendar, and it
saw
was
it.
like, it was somewhere between August and today. And it was all of a sudden we're there. I thought, man, this is just crazy how fast time is, right? So I'm just going to touch on a couple of things I want to share with everyone just for a few minutes,
Sure, absolutely.
and that's what I
Let
like
me
to
interrupt you for 1 second, though.
please do. And actually, it's
I can
perfect timing because I'm going to have
take a sip. I can listen to your stories all day long, and you have millions of them. So thank you for sharing. And you're so generous. And before you start talking about everything that you want to do, I would love for you to tell me about Givers University for a second, because my God, you share every day. You're a giver. So before you go into all that stuff, I want to hear about your Givers University.
Thank you so much, and I love the opportunity to be able to share it with everyone too. Givers University is really a manifestation of the vow and oath and commitment I made to my mentor when I was 19 years old. It was the agreement we made when I asked him to teach me everything. He wanted one thing back, and that was that I would promise when the time was right. And it was interesting because even when he said it, I had the feeling he knew he would no longer be on the planet when that time was. Now, I
Mm.
can recall the look on his face when he said it to me. And it was like, the way he said, I want one thing from you, and I said, yes. And he said, when the time is right, and you will know that time. He didn't put himself in that equation. He said, and you will know that time. I want you to teach as many people as you possibly can everything I taught you. And I said, okay. And that was at 19 years old. And it was interesting. And now it's almost eerily as I look back at it, because it's almost like he knew then, and it was years later, that he passed away. He passed away in 91.
Mm.
And but he knew it would be me, and I still feel him. I still feel he's looking over my shoulder, and and they're helping me. And that's how Givers University came about. It was a result of a vow and an oath, and my interviewing 1,000 millionaires over a 2-year time period when I had my radio talk show. And boy, I tell you, you want to talk about things going wrong.
Oh, yeah.
When you're live on the radio and broadcasting to half of the United States for an hour every single evening, 5 nights a week, for 2 years solid. I interviewed 3 interviews. And side note, I just have to tell the story because it's off
Go for it.
path,
Go for it.
but it is humorous. It is humorous, and I love to share humor stories. Partly because I giggle at them too, because I enjoy them. So, sidebar for a moment, and that is, I was doing an interview one time with this guy who was a millionaire, very successful, and it was about importing and exporting to Mexico,
Mm.
and it was a great interview. So I asked him in the interview. I said, now, I don't want to be cliche or anything. I said, but in Mexico, and we were talking about Mexico City specifically, and I was actually surprised at how big the population in Mexico City really is as a city. It's a huge, huge, huge city, much more than I had imagined in my mind. Like
Right.
well over 10 million people, and in the city, not just the surrounding areas, right? So, and this is back then, and as I'm talking to him, I asked him, I said, now in Mexico and stuff, I said, I'm just sort of curious because there's different people have different lifestyles and different things, and they eat different things in different parts of the world. I said, do you still have siestas in Mexico? I am not kidding you. As I was asking the question straight up and legitimately, he falls asleep in front of me on the radio live. I'm not kidding you. While I'm asking the question,
Oh,
I'm watching him go down, and he's nodding off. This is a live show, this is not in the can, this is, so and he falls asleep. I mean,
Mm.
like I said some hypnotic key word, and I said siesta, and it knocked him out or
That
something. It
was
was
it.
weird,
That was
like
it.
Blue Rose, and he went out. And and my sound guy was hysterical. He was so much on the money, and he had this queued up already, a sort of a that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, right,
And
right.
and it was and I'm laughing so hard, I'm crying. I'm literally crying on the air because this guy is absolutely stone cold asleep right in front of me.
Wow.
And then he
Wow.
wakes up like Jasmine, he goes, "Oh my God, I'm so sad." And it was only maybe about a minute or two because and it was
Right,
good because I wasn't able to talk. I was laughing so hard anyway, right?
right.
And he jars himself up, so to speak, like how you like you're sleeping and you jerk and then you wake up. It was that kind of thing. And I'm looking at him and
Yeah.
he sees I'm laughing and crying so hard because I'm laughing so hard. And my sound guy is beyond himself. He's hitting the thing. He just can't even believe this really just happened. The timing, you couldn't have made this up. And the guy said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I said, "Well, I guess you answered our question about siestas." I said, "You are very results oriented in answering your questions. You gave me a little demo there." He goes, "I'm so sorry. It was jet lag." And he said, "I was on my he said, I don't know why I just went out." And I said, "Well, maybe it's low blood sugar or something." So anyway, but live things certainly, make for interesting shows to say the least. And
Oh, without a doubt.
everything happens. So. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's excitingly so. So while on the show, then I interviewed these 1,000 millionaires, right? And I noticed earlier you almost said he interviewed 1,000,000 thousandaires, which would have been, which I just want to let you would be a whole lot more difficult to interview a million people, 1,000,000 thousandaires. So I'm glad it was
I'm
only
on
a
my
thousand.
way. I'm on my
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I mean, oh, it's a thousandaire. So I'm very glad that you said it's 1,000 millionaires, and all of the things that I was able to sift and put together, and those became the Give to Be Great courses, and just a great opportunity for people to be able to learn these things that were taught to me by my mentor and also by these millionaires. And some of the most interesting things were the things I had questions for them in advance based on their industry, and it was astonishing to me the answers that I was able to glean from them before and after the interview. The interview to me was secondhand. The interview was for the listener stuff, but my personal common threads I was looking for through all of these millionaires were the questions I asked them before and after this interview. And I can touch on this because it's germane to as we get into migrate eventually from Givers University into the topic I wanted to get into, to show you something that was very interesting. At the end of the show, with all of these millionaires, I would give them a 25-page letter.
Mm.
25. Now think about
Wow.
25 pages, right? And when I wrote this, everyone said no one's going to read this, especially millionaires and especially presidents of companies. They don't have time to read 25 pages. I said, "You're wrong." I said, "Because you haven't completed the sentence." I said, "You're thinking of the sentence in one way, and I have the sentence in another way." I said, "Everyone will read 25 pages," and here's the rest of the sentence, "that is of interest to them.
Yeah.
They're not going to read 25 pages." And you're right, they won't read 25 pages if it's not interesting or if it's
Yes.
just a sales pitch or something else. So, from these 25 pages, a letter from me to each one of them, all of these guests, I had 50 presidents of companies, millionaires at $5,000 per head every month at a local resort. And so, I mean, when you think about that, I mean, there's 50 people in the room that are all what you would say successful people.
Right,
And
right.
over the course of that, it was 36 hours of very intense training, 9 to 9 Friday, 9 to 9 Saturday, and 9 to 9 Sunday. We even ate in the room. And through the
Nice.
course of 36 hours, I was able to teach them 410 ways to grow their business.
So
And went through, and these
when
are with presidents of companies.
Yeah,
These were
yeah.
real presidents. I mean, these are guys that, you would think they're already successful. And they just said, wow, this is really, man, this is great stuff. And because I realized everyone's sending their people to trainings, but the presidents of companies aren't going to trainings, right? So I took the other extreme. I said, I'm just going to the presidents and I'm going to
Go to
train
the
them.
top. Go to
And,
the top.
and literally 5,000 a person, 50 people every single month. And all because of a 25-page letter that everyone said no one would read.
Yeah.
So,
So here's a question for you, EA.
yes, yes, yes.
Nicolette wants to know if it was two-sided letter. 25 pages, two sides.
It
Oh,
was, that's a great question. And I can genuinely tell you it was 25 sides.
okay.
Yeah. But actually, what we
25
did,
correct sides,
yeah,
right
but I want to
sides.
say, yes, but it's interesting that you say that because this was like in 1991, 1992. So 5,000 back then is probably closer to 10,000 today.
Yeah,
And,
of course.
and also, by the way, relating on the sides, there wasn't a lot of copiers that were very inexpensive that did both sides back then. They were all one-sided copiers. So so it was 25 sides, but it was still 25 sheets.
Yeah, yeah,
Because the backside was empty.
right,
So,
right, right.
but it was 25 reading sides, that's for sure, even though it was 25 sheets. And they got it in an envelope addressed to them. And these were presidents of companies. I mean, these are sophisticated people. And I had, and then right after them, I gave them 70. It was actually a two-part. One was 30 and the next was 40. The first was 30 business self-interrogation questions.
Mm,
The next part was 40 business self-interrogation, 70 questions. And I had a president of a very successful and good size accounting firm attend one of my trainings, and he told me, he said, do you know that these 70 questions, they're worth the 5,000 to attend this training, even if I never learned another thing and you didn't say another word. He said, I've never looked at my business the way these 70 questions force me, because they're self-interrogation. I mean, these are intense. They're meant to be intense. They're meant to be probing. They're meant to be thought-provoking. The answer to 70 questions is a 2 or 3 hour thing. Very, very easy. Very easy.
right.
And that's
Oh,
pushing
yeah.
it, right? He said, I've never thought about my business the way you forced me to think about it and look at it by doing nothing more than answering 70 questions. He said, this thing took me like all night. And he said, and part of the next evening as well. He said, I got to tell you, these 70 questions were worth 5,000 to me right now. And I said, okay, go home. Thanks. And he laughed, but the point was, that was after, that was like a part of this 3-day boot camp, I called it, for presidents of companies.
Right.
And to be able to share with them and learn from them, because here it is, 50 people in the room, and I'm learning from them, and that's what I was getting out of this. Because they would explain, I've got a business problem, because it was very closed door. It wasn't these sessions, where they were recorded, but only certain aspects. When we had sort of more of a free form thing, they weren't, and the things where I could help them individually. And it was so interesting to hear these different industries and the challenges that they had in their business, and that again downloaded on me.
Yeah.
And and it was so funny because I was at an event about a month, not even a month ago, it was maybe 3 weeks ago. And one of the gals that was a speaker says, I don't do small accounts. I don't work with small accounts. And I said, okay. I said, well, let me share with you one thing. I said, do you know all big businesses have one thing in common? They were once a small business. All big businesses were once a small business.
Always.
Nothing more than someone's idea. And maybe a couple of ideas and back and forth. And I said, and then from that, and she goes, well, I like to share my stuff with people because they just take it. And I said, well, I said, they take your stuff? And she says, yes. And I said, can I share with you about your stuff? And she said, what? I said, you don't have enough of it then. If they can have a conversation with you and they're taking all your stuff, you need more stuff.
Yeah. You need to level up.
Yeah, you need to
Yeah.
learn some kinds of things, and learn, through then that's where the difference between education and she was educated, but
Right.
she wasn't wise. And wise supplants education because wisdom is knowing what to do and knowing when to do it. Education is, you can just read that from a book or hear someone else spew those words. And as you and I have joked about before, we both have met educated idiots in our life, many of them. And
Right.
all the information, spew all the information, but don't know how to implement any of it, and they don't do any good. So one of the things my business mentor was always, implement. It's about execution and implement. People learn the stuff, but they don't know how to execute it. And he just drilled that into me: execution, implementation. As you give me one person that implements halfway, and I'll have that person with me over someone that's got all the knowledge you could possibly imagine on the subject. He said, because all the knowledge doesn't mean, because knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is power. So just because someone has the knowledge doesn't mean anything, right?
No,
You have to
not at
learn
all.
how to apply it. And
A lot of people are afraid of pushing the button, pulling the trigger, going forward,
yeah,
because they're afraid of not doing it. They're afraid of failing. And once we can get away from that fear of failing, man, everything's open. Just do it. So what if you fail? At least you tried it. I don't want to go, to sleep at the end of the day and saying, I should have done that. No, I want to go like, I did that and I failed. So what? I get to do it again tomorrow, right?
yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
mean, my God.
That's a great point.
Keep
When they're
talking. I love hearing you talk,
when
buddy.
they come from a position of fear, that's
Mhm.
exactly what happens, and it stops them. And fear, what is it? False evidence appearing real. And what's so important is that, again, my business mentor, and I share. And the reason I'm always talking about him is because I want people to understand, if you don't have a mentor, in my world, we call that naive. That's what we call it, because there's such a great opportunity to learn from so many spectacular, amazing people who genuinely want to share the information. There's so many times, I know, Rafael, with you, you just see business owners do things and you just shake your head and you go, just dropping the ball, and obviously they just don't know, or they're not implementing, or they haven't gotten a mentor that can help you. And to help you with it, and once we get that mentor, it's important for us to listen to what they're saying, and to execute on what they're saying, implement it, and make the mistakes, and I was very glad when I became a commercial pilot, and I can share with you that flying my own planes, before I ever even thought, I mean, later on I was flying planes that were very, very complex and fast, dangerous airplanes even,
Right.
and I can share with you that it was only because I had a mentor in the seat next to me when I was learning. If I didn't have that flight instructor, CFI, certified flight instructor, if he wasn't sitting next to me and he just said, here's a book, read this, and threw the airplane keys at me, I would have been a lawn dart by the end of the runway.
Yes, you would have.
For sure. But he taught me, do this. And he said, you want to learn how to, and this one guy, I remember, Tacky Constantine, I love this guy. He said, I'm going to show you how to land a plane that when the wheels land, he said, if you'll just do what I did, and he was making this plea to me, if you'll just do what I show you, he said, you will land the plane nearly every single time, and those wheels will just go beep, beep. You'll hear them do a little squeak as they just touch the runway. And he said, and everyone will look around and wonder if they actually landed and won't realize they look out the window they did. He said, I'll show you how to do that every time, but you have to do the way I'm showing you.
Yeah.
And he said, because that's the way it works, right? And so I listened to him, and I learned how to do that same thing, and and then became a complex pilot, and for a high performance aircraft later on. But you know what I did? Found someone who really knew their stuff, and I listened to him. Found a mentor. Found a mentor to do that. Found a mentor when I wanted to become a scuba diver. I found someone who specialized in search and rescue, and I said, could you teach me? And he said, sure, I'll teach you. And he specialized working for the police department, fire department with search and rescue and looking for in water that you couldn't see like that far in front of you. Right. That's a guy I wanted to learn how to dive from, right? So
he's the one that can teach you the best.
So here's the thing. Anything that your listeners want to, or our listeners that want to learn, that mentor's out there. That mentor's there, and you can find him, and you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised when they see that you genuinely want to learn, how willing they are to really share and to really help you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, without a doubt. Everything that you've been talking about is based on coaching, mentoring, learning, educating yourself, getting off the couch, moving, doing things that are going to help you in your life, in your future, in your kids. Everything you're talking about. EA, thank you so much for sharing all great stories, by the way. But I think the real message that you're really letting our listeners understand is that we can't be afraid. We have to do, we have to act. There is nothing better than knowing that you at least tried, even if you didn't succeed. Because you might not succeed today, but you will eventually. I love the fact that you spoke to the lady who was, I'm going to say small minded, and that might not come out right, but I'm going to say it anyway, where she said, "Oh, I don't deal with small potatoes, right? Small companies, they're nobodies."
Yeah.
And you changed her perspective. And that's what a coach does. They change someone's perspective to see things differently, things they never would have, opportunities that right in front of them and they're missing. So thank you for sharing that, because that'll teach anybody that we don't judge people because maybe they don't have what we want them to have. You know, I've seen studies where they've shown celebrities dressed like a bum and people like shoo them away. Meanwhile, if they look who knew who they were, they'd be like, "Oh my God, who are you know?" And I've seen rich people do the same thing. Look at that millionaire show where it was, Millionaire Boss, or what, I forget the name of it, where they came in as regular people and they were looking to find who their prize person was in the company, and they elevated them because it's those golden, I guess, nuggets that we can take from life, but we can't hoard them all. We got to give them back, right? So thank you
Yeah,
for
for sure,
that.
for sure.
That's
And
super amazing.
and I would like to, if I can,
Of
share
course.
a pro bono special for our couple of listeners on the show
Yes.
as we
Let's do
experiment
it.
with
Let's
this,
do it.
because and I think, as a bonus for them, for as we get our, the heroes rising, and future speakers that we're both going to be able to interview, which I'm very excited about. I love to be able to interview people and just find out where they're at and have them share with others. But as a special bonus for those that are with us today, and this won't be on the recording, so it's only going to be in our live, I'm going to give them an opportunity to book an hour with me, and I'm going to help them. So if they want to get into business, if they own their own business, I'm going to provide a 1 hour pro bono. Basically, it means free. So it's at no cost
Yes.
to them. 1 hour of my time, so that I might be able to help them on their road going ahead. So I'm going to put that. I'm going to put a booking link in the chat,
Okay. Let me
um,
take a
and
look at the chat,
let me know
and I
if it
will
shows up on
definitely.
your end.
If it shows up on my end, that means everybody's going to look at it, and I see it. I'm going to share that whole thing on YouTube as well. Hopefully I was able to. It says select, and I'm going to see if I can copy it. And try that. Hopefully it copied. It says select all. Let me see if there's a way for me to copy that here. All right. Give me a second. I'm going to try to throw it in the chat. That's it. Give me another
And
second.
actually, the link even works good in the chat too. So for those that are watching that are in the chat, if you click actually on the link, it'll take you right to
Oh, you
a
know what?
simple
I'm going to
booking
do it that
page.
way. Even better.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. Copy the link from there. Ta-da. Do that. This is why
Because
you're on here with
I
me.
just clicked on the link and it goes right to Calendly, which, by the way, Calendly is such a great program, man. I am a
Oh, yeah.
I'm a convert. They what that program does, saves the back and forth. What time's good for you? What time's good for you? And when you got other
Yeah.
time zones, other people in the world, you got 6 emails going back and forth, and this is does it in one. So,
Yeah.
and it's only for the live, by the way. I'm reserving this only for the people that are watching us live. If you're not watching us live, sorry, you're not going to get this benefit. Maybe sometime in the future or something. But
Yeah.
for those that are, feel free, book your 45 minutes with me, and I will. And it's a genuine consultation. It's a genuine mentoring session. It's not a pitchy session or something like that. That's
No,
not
you're not
that's
like
not what's
that.
going to happen. No, they're going to get genuine value, and it gives me an opportunity to meet some great people too. So for those that are interested in, a mentoring session with me, it's pro bono, no cost, only for those listening. Over, so is that. So
Nice.
get it now while you want, and if it's something you're interested in doing, I'd love to be able to share with each and every one of you, and that's a good thing. So hopefully that works. I checked. I'm in the chat. I posted on the chat and clicked on the link, and it went right to the booking page on
Yeah.
Calendly. So
Right.
so very, very good. I appreciate that and appreciate being able to share with everyone. And I want to sort of, if I can, I want to mention listeners, and I think most of them probably know who you are, but I think that there's a few that probably don't, and I want to share with them
Mm.
that some of the things I've noticed in my personal observations in our talking together was, we met. Was either on Podmatch or was it? I think it was
Yeah.
Podmatch, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
was
yeah,
Podmatch.
yeah, and which is basically a booking platform with show hosts and guests, and we met on that platform, and I thought, oh, that'd be an interesting show to be on, and obviously you teach martial arts, and I have an affinity for that as well, and I thought, man, this would be just a great interview, and so I contacted you, and you contacted me back, and was able to be on your show, and we just had a great time. And one of the things that I noticed was that there was a sincerity and a genuineness on your part, that you were an entrepreneur. You were working on, as we all do, to have our mind always be working. So you coach yourself, as I coach myself, and you coach others on getting their mental game right, if you will.
Yes.
Uh,
Thank
and,
you.
uh, and it was later, by the way, I really enjoyed. And I want to mention, I really do enjoy uh, your fitness videos that you put out, and the exercise. And here's a great way to warm up, and I know some people look at those, you got to be kidding me. That's not warming up. That's like on fire. He's on fire, but
Right.
I do enjoy watching them. And you do an excellent job, by the way, of even just taping them and giving people. And sometimes, just doing those. And I know you know this, but so I'm sort of singing to the choir, but putting out those videos like that give people a nudge, and they say, you know what, I really need to start working out again, if they hadn't,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
if they're saying, I skipped the last couple of days, I got preoccupied and derailed, and I need to get back on the beam. Thank you, Rafael, for getting me back on the beam. So with all your coaching, with getting people's mind right, fitness, martial arts, all those things are excellent, and I know you've helped thousands of people. I mean, I know you've interviewed a huge amount of people, and we just sort of hit it up on your podcast. And then I was so thankful that, I think it was a few weeks later, maybe a month, I don't know, but you
Wow.
rounded back by and you say, I'm thinking about doing this. How would you feel? Would you be interested in participating? And I said, man, if you're inviting me, the kind of person you are, I definitely would love to be able to share with you, and would love to see how we can do this together. So I appreciate the fact that you're always looking for ways to get people to a higher level of results. You're always looking for a way to help individuals, groups, businesses, help them find clarity. I've heard you talk about how to help them get greater purpose, and just understanding more about where they fit in the world, and not being so intimidated by everything about them, but just going out there courageously and making it happen. So I appreciate your mission, that you want to really help so many different people in the world, and help them help the world, so that and being in a place that really matters. So I'd love to be able to hear some wise, awesome words from you today, and for our listeners, my friend, because I have great
Yeah.
appreciation for you, and you are such a giver. I mean, I think if I looked up the definition of giver in a dictionary, it probably has your picture. I don't know. It might.
Right
I don't know.
there. Right there.
There it is. Bam. All right. So, thank you, Raphael. And could you please? I'd love if you could share some of your wisdom with some of the listeners today.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I'm always looking at success, almost like basically almost the same way you do. Obviously, you have a deeper understanding of it. That's why I always look up to you and ask you questions and so forth. But I'm always looking to learn. And I think that we have to look at learning a little bit differently than what we were taught a while ago. We have to first adapt with what's going on in society. We have to adapt with our own business. And if we don't have a business, let's get out there and create our own. There's so many opportunities for every one of us to really, really level up. Oh, hey, Richard Hughes just booked a session with you, EA. Can't
I
wait. Awesome. Ooh, cool deal. Um, by the
That's
way,
great.
the first link I put up there is EA's. The second one is mine, and I'll share with you guys what I can offer also.
Awesome.
So for me, it's always figuring out what is it that I want to get to. So I always start with the end in mind, because if I can go with the end in mind, then what happens for me is that if I want to get these results, now I have to put together, and you mentioned it earlier, a plan. How do I get there? I don't just like, oh, I'm going to get there one day. Next year, no, I have to plan. So for me, definitely the end in mind. How am I going to get there? What are my action steps that I have to do? And if my goal is not just, and by the way, I have to have certain different goals. I have to have a personal goal for me personally. I have to have a family goal for my family. I have to have even for my home, because, all these different things. Do I want to change my house? Do I want to do an addition? Do I want to do this? So everything has to be set in place. And if it's for business, I have to, what do I want? What is my desired goal? That to me is the most important. So what I like to do is bullet point each step of the way, right? Review it. We need to structure it. And then sometimes we need to like say, this is not working. Let me refix it. Let me restructure it. All my bullet points, maybe this bullet point, I don't need anymore. I don't need this part anymore. So let me look at it. When I have a plan for a year and a half from now, I don't look at it once and then hope I know it. I look at my plan regularly. So I have my to-do list. I have my priority list. Everybody says A, B, C list. They're so important. And a lot of people are like, yeah, but they're so important in how we really tackle everything. And sometimes, guess what? We can't do it by ourselves. So we need a team. Who's on your team? In a relationship, you need someone else to be there, right? To have a team. At home, you need a team. If you're gonna, plant the garden, if you're gonna build the deck, if you're gonna knock walls down, if you're gonna paint, are you doing it all by yourself, or can you have someone, or do you hire someone? So this is all the things, is what's worth the most to you? Time or money? That to me is key. My time is worth more than any amount of money, because I can never get it back. I can always get money back, but I can't get money back. So who's on your team? And the other thing is, what are their roles? Let's set some due dates, right? So here's a quick story for you, and you might appreciate this. Many years ago, I was part of a team, right? And it was like, we have to do this, we have to do that. And I was the low guy on the totem pole. Not only did I do what I had to do, but I picked up the slack of everyone else around me who was not doing their share. Why? Why did I do that? Crazy? Bored? No. I had the end in mind. It was my goal. So here's the thing that I did, right? When I opened up my martial arts school back in 1995, I would get up early in the morning, and I knew that most commuters who were serious, who were business minded, didn't show up to work at 9 o'clock. They would show up to work around 6 or 7. So by 5 o'clock, because from Long Island, it takes an hour to go into Manhattan, I would get up at 5 o'clock, be by the train station with flyers. Now, some of them are like half asleep anyway, and I would try to give them a flyer. It wouldn't work. So I said, how do I innovate? How do I make them take a flyer? So I would go, this will save you with your taxes. And they were like, whoa, it will? I said, sure. And then they looked at it and they're like, wait, how is this going to save me up with my taxes? I said, because if you're in shape, you'll understand that your mind and your body work together. So you need to be physically fit. And they're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. All right. And I actually had some people who came back to me that way. So when we think outside the box, and I was on there for months and months and months, I built up my business very quickly just by me handing out flyers. So when it comes to how we do things, how we handle situations, how we handle adversity, these are the things that we have to think outside the box, just like Sam did, right? When he saw an empty store with sewing machines, and he saw tons of machines but no customers. And it's the innovation that we have in ourselves that we have to bring forth. When I was a child, I didn't have what other kids had. I didn't have my first toy till I was 10 years old. My parents used to give me socks and underwear for Christmas. Who wants that for Christmas? So, but that's what
Hold on a
they
second.
did, right? So it was my, stop crying, will you?
Get on with the story, will you? Sorry, just had to throw it in there. Yeah, but that made, I bet you, if I could just interject for a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those, it's like the boy named Sue, right? I mean, because of those things, you probably have made sure ever since then, as you got older, you had the best Christmas ever, and because of how it impacted your life. I think that's awesome, by the way, that you're willing to be that transparent with people and let them know, that. Rafael, that's one of the things I love about you, man. You're just, you're just willing to put it on, wear it on your sleeve, and say, "I'm just sharing this with you because I know it can help you, and it might help you in life." And I'm the same as you are, And I just love that you have that ability, my friend. You really genuinely do.
Thank you. Yeah. So my first gift was a little red toy car, and it was not even by my parents. It was by my sister's boyfriend. Man, did I love that guy.
I bet. Awesome guy, right?
Yeah. Awesome. The best guy in the world. Yeah. And, when you talk about people who impact your life, that guy just changed my perspective, because I said, I could have toys. I'm not getting them from where I am, but I could have toys. And you know what? That lesson, as I keep going back to it, it's taught me that material things don't matter. So toys for me, they come and go. It's not important. Relationships, that's number one. Communication, that's number one. And that's how I impact people, because listen, I can have a great time no matter where I go, because I want to know about the people I'm with. So I'm going to, ask them questions. Hey, how'd you do that? Or how's this going? And, oh man, I love what you're doing, whatever it is. And it could be a social event, or it could be a business event. And one of the things that I love to do is be a fly on the wall. Man, do I learn so much. But flies on the wall get smacked around sometimes, right?
They do. And better you be a fly on the wall than where other flies sort of, hang out sometimes.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah, let's not go there.
But to me, I'm always I'm a people observer. I love watching people, and they teach me so much. I learn just from watching their actions, how they interact with each other, how they talk to one another, and how they even I even sometimes watch people who are waiting on a bus stop. What are they doing? Sometimes when I travel the country or go abroad, I'm like, what are they doing? And what are they thinking? And then sometimes I've seen people at a bus stop work out, because the bus is going to be maybe another half hour, or who knows. I've seen people do that. People reading a magazine, reading a book, people on their phone. So it's all what we can do with the time we have. So I also teach people time management, right? Because when you think about everything we do, and that's one of the things I said, what's more important to you, time or money? Time. If I lost everything, I had zero money, zero family, zero friends, I'd be okay. Why? Because I have time to build all that up. As long as I do have the time and I didn't waste it, right? So time management is so critical when it comes, and you know this, EA, because when we book sessions, you and I, you're like, well, I can't do this day, I can't do that day, and so we both are like, let me get my calendar, let me get my calendar. And here's the funny thing, my girlfriend doesn't even ask me things. I'm over there working on the computer or doing things, and she's like, "Where's your book?" First time she said, "I'm like, what book?" Because I read so many books, right? I'm like, "Okay, what book do you want to read?" She's like, "No, no, no, your calendar." I said, "Oh, okay." So now she doesn't even ask me, right? So she comes over just yesterday. I'm over there working, da 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 da, and then she goes. She used to ask me, "What are you doing today?" So she takes my calendar, looks at it, and she goes, "Huh? So you're not going to be home for lunch then?" I said, "Right." She goes, "All right, what are we doing for dinner?" I said, "Anything you want," right? Because here's the thing, and for me is I am a people pleaser because for me, seeing someone else have joy in their life, it touches my heart. It really does. When I see someone who's sad or mopey or this or that, I try to help them out. How can I? How can I be of help to you? How can I assist you? So for me, everything that I do every day is how can I help? And so one of the things that I love doing for people is helping them realize that their roles in their lives are very important. First, you have to take care of you, whether it's in business, family, fitness, health, all these things tie together to who you are. So we have to set goals for everything. We can't just live life and just let it go. You do that on vacation when you go away for a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it is. And that's when you can say, whatever happens today, you sit back and go, yeah, that's cool. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to relax. I have no priorities today. I'm just chilling. And that you need to do that. You need to recharge, but you can't go, and then you're not living the life that you were meant to live, which is to be happy, right? So here's the other thing that I love to help people with, and I'm sure you do the same thing, is setting goals, but with deadlines, right? And then setting a stage for each deadline. Because if I have a goal a year from now, I have to have little mini deadlines that I have to meet in order to maybe get to the goal before the deadline or right on time. And then the other thing that people don't realize is that they have to also set up boundaries. Let's talk a little bit about boundaries, right? When we talk about boundaries, it's like who's taking my time? Because I said that's the most valuable, right? Who do I want to spend time with? And who's trying to monopolize my time when I can't I have 50,000 things I have to do today. So my time is allotted for everything, including eating, which is huge for me, including quality time. So everything I have to do is who's trying to kidnap, right? Let's think about that. Eli, I'm sorry. EA, have you ever been kidnapped?
Um, I've had my people try to kidnap my time. I've never personally been kidnapped, but I've had
Likewise.
people try to kidnap my time for sure. And so now I see them coming way off, and they don't even get close. The door gets triple bolted before they get close to,
Yes.
kidnapping my time.
Yeah,
And yet at the
absolutely.
same time, you and I love to be able to contribute to people who generally want, just as we're doing here with this event, to be
Right.
able to do consulting sessions with people. So, and there's the difference between givers and takers too. See, a giver can be a receiver
Hmm.
and not a taker.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about you is that you're willing to give and you know that you're going to be always receiving back, and you do.
Yeah, I do. And you know what? Here's the other thing when you talk about that. It's not like that Big Bang Theory, very funny show. But one problem that Sheldon, one of the characters on the show, always had is that he never wanted to receive presents because then he would either have to match the present or do a better present. So for him, he had anxiety if you gave him a present. And I thought that was pretty funny because one of the things that I do is like, if I give something to someone, I don't expect anything in return. So recently I gave somebody a gift and they bought me 3 gifts since for no reason. And it was that one gift that I thought, you can use this. Here you go. And I didn't expect anything back. And I hope they didn't feel that I expected anything back when I don't. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not materialistic. I don't care about and I do care about money, but money's not the first and most important thing to me. Relationships are, right? I'm here to make a difference in the world. And I've said this before. I have a world, you have a world, they have a world. My world may collide with your world, but if we can find common ground, we can live in the same world. So for me, that's key. I always try to find a way to live in a compassionate, loving, fun world where everybody can have fun. Everybody can be an individual person. There's no who are you as far as religion, race, color, none of that junk. To me, that's nonsense. I want a world where we all just help each other. And that's why, EA, I love the way you do things and the way you've taken on your world because you make a huge impact in everybody's world. So one of the other things I also help people is run different scenarios as to the outcome of your goal or your project or your outcome that you're looking for. Because here's the thing, right? People are shy when they're young. When I still hear somebody who says I'm shy in their 18, 20, and so forth, I'm like, get over it. Why are you shy? So I try to help people to come out of their shell, not in those words, because that might hurt their feelings, but in a positive way to let them know, hey, listen, you have a message that because your shyness is not letting you tell it to the world, your message is powerful. Let me guide you. Let me help you get your message out there because your message is just as important as my message, as their message, as everyone's message. But we have to understand how we can get that message across. And then here's the other thing. When we're trying to achieve something, tell me if this hasn't happened to you. We always hit roadblocks. And what I mean by roadblocks is someone is telling you, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you're no good at this. Oh, you don't know what you're doing. Those are roadblocks. And then also people who say, you're no good for that. You're not as good as so-and-so. So for me, that's such negativity. And I train people how to kind of like put an armor on and let all the objections, all the negativity bounce off of them and realize how beautiful of a person they are. And this is why I reached out to you. I felt your energy. And I said, I got to call EA. So I called you.
Glad
And,
you did.
ever since we've had so many conversations, you and I. And, every time we have a conversation, you give me stuff. You're so damn generous, bud.
I
Thank you for
appreciate
that.
that, and but
Yeah.
I can share with you this though. Thank you for those kind words. Part of it is I know that in order for me to continue receiving, I've got to keep giving. Otherwise, when I turn off that faucet, the faucet's a two-way faucet, and so when people stop doing that, they don't realize. And I appreciate you made some really great points. I want to revisit, if I might.
Of course.
I like the where you mentioned reviewing goals and on a regular basis. How frequently do you recommend people should review their goals and objectives?
Ah, great question. I do them in the morning and I do them at night, but that may be too much for someone. So start small. Start once a week. And then when you get used to, you got to start small with anything, right? Because listen, like you said, those big, huge companies, Apple was started in a garage, right? So we have to start small. So maybe once a week. If that's too much, every 2 weeks. But put it on your calendar. If you don't have a calendar, who's occupying your time? Your calendar tells you when you have to do certain things. And when there's a blank in my calendar, that means it is me time, right? It's for me to develop, it's for me to get better. So putting that on a weekly, monthly, and eventually work your way down to once a day. And then if you're crazy, twice a day. Right?
And I think you're making a
So I
great
have to
germane
review
point.
in the morning what I'm going to do for my day.
I think you're making a great
Right.
point as it
In
relates
the morning, I
to
review what
consistency.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So in the morning, I review what I'm going to do for the day and what I did yesterday. Because at night, I review what I did that day. So now I have it twice in the morning and at night. And then when I wake up in the morning, I remember what I did or what maybe I missed. And then in the morning, I know I have to take care of it. So definitely setting goals, setting incremental goals, daily goals. That is key. Look, I set a goal every day. I know I'm going to eat breakfast. That's a goal.
For sure.
What are your
And
thoughts
and
on that?
and consistency is, I think, I mean, you're certainly raising some great points. And and I think, pardon me, as we watch what happens in people in their business, it's always really astonishing. And there's so much great information out there and so many people that want to share. And it gets convoluted very, very quickly. I think raised a great point about, the importance, you will, of making sure that relationships are first, and I think that's important. In my particular instance, I always, every week I put out a post on, what we call are the 5 priorities of life, and I can share with you that I genuinely have tried all 5 in different variances and in different order. There's only one order, and I can say this genuinely at the ripe young age of 65. So,
Very young.
yeah, still ripe young age. I'm 65 years young. That I can share with you for sure that there's only one order I have found that ever genuinely works all the time, and that is number one, intelligent design. We have to believe that we were designed. To simply think that we came out of pond scum would be ridiculous. And I tell people that say, "Well, I don't know," and I say, "Well, let me just ask a simple question. If I dumped a bunch of lumber on a yard, how many millions of years would I have to wait before it becomes a house?" The answer is obviously it never could. It needs a builder. Someone's got to build the house. And how could we as individuals think something so much more complex, meaning us, that even we as a human race don't even understand yet, right? So I think, first we have to believe in intelligent design. I think that's a powerful belief. And secondly, that, after, as I put it in this order myself anyway, intelligent design, family, the importance of the family unit, having family. Again, to your point, Rafael, relationships, right? Intelligent design, family, country, business, self. Now you notice I put self on number 5, and not first. And I
Right.
can share with you that I have used those 5 over my 65 young years in every other possible order, and they may seem to work short term, but never long term. Long
Okay.
term, That's the way those five have to be in that order. And to your point, I remember one of the times my business mentor said, and we were talking about relationships, and we were having a conversation actually about time. And he said, you know, an interesting thing about success and about life. Her said on her deathbed, you know, I should have spent more time at the office. He said, those words never come out of their mouth. He said, but earning $1 million is a great thing. He said, because he said, when we manage money, it's excellent. When money manages us, that's bad. And he said, so he said, earning $1 million, because I told him, I said, you know, I want to be a millionaire. Right? And I was, you know, when I met him, I was in, you know, I was still a teenager.
Right.
And I'm all about the money, right? You know, I want to be money. And if I have all the money, then I'm going to be happy. Not realizing, Rafael, I even had that backwards, because we got to be happy first, then, right? So I had that back, but a teenager, I'm about the money. So I learned. I said, I'd like to earn $1 million. And I'll never forget what he said. It was humorous. He said, well, first, he's like, tell you the first thing. I said, well, what's that? He said, well, you're going to have to get $1 million. I said, well, yeah, I guess so. He said, but I'll tell you what the hardest part is. And then he got really solemn. And you know, so funny as I share these stories with you, I can still remember the looks on his face as he said these things to me, because he had a way to change the expression on his face, and you knew right then. He went from joking with you to getting ready to make a very, very important point in your life, you know. And he said, I'll tell you the hardest part. And I said, okay, what's that? He said, it's going to be believing you're worth it. And, you know, I found that to be true. And he said, you know, earning $1 million is going to be the easiest thing you ever do. When you look back at it, he said, you will see it's the easiest thing, one of the easiest things you've ever done. He said the hardest part was believing you were worth it. And so he began to, you know, work on those wires in my mind and rewired them all the time on an ongoing basis. Sometimes I could almost say the word brutally, you know, I mean, because he cared for me. And because he cared for me, you know, he wasn't going to accept an excuse I might have been offering at him at that moment, you know, and as I was supplanting education for wisdom through my association with him. So, you know, the ability to be able to think about those things is very germane to your goals. And, you know, I'm for being a millionaire. I think everyone, you know, anyone can be a millionaire if they choose, right? And it's a great thing if it's not managing them. But if they're managing them, I was doing some charity work with a gentleman by the name of W. Clement Stone. If you're not familiar with W. Clement Stone, he actually underwrote some of Napoleon Hill's books and work.
Really?
Yeah, he owned a company called Combined Insurance. When I met him, he was a billionaire with a B. And we were doing some charity work, and we were flying around together in a plane. And so I asked him, I thought, man, this guy's a billionaire. I mean, that's with a B, not with the M, it's a B. Right? Not even the M, the multimillionaire. This is a billionaire, right? And he's right next to me, sitting next to me. And I go, man, I'm going to ask him about money. I mean, certainly must know something about money, right? So I asked
a little,
him,
maybe.
I said, Clem, he'd like to go by Clem. W. Clement Stone was his name. And I said, could I ask you a question? He said, sure. You know, and I said, what's money? And you know the amazing thing, Rafael, he didn't even hesitate. He turned and looked right at me, and he said, money is power to do good. And I can years in life, he was actually committed to teaching whole countries how to become self-sufficient. Now you think about how people are hoping, they're trying to become self-sufficient themselves and pay the bills, right? But to show you where his mind was, you know, that, you know, I mean, an extraordinary gentleman. He actually underwrote a number of books from Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was a full-time speaker because he owned Combined Insurance Company, and it was a huge insurance conglomerate. And so he had Napoleon Hill was primary, you know, probably his primary trainer for many years, and he underwrote Napoleon Hill's work. So I mean, he recognized the importance of, you know, what Napoleon Hill was doing as well. But again, there's another example of asking the right people. When you ask the right question to the right person, you're going to get the right answer. When you ask the right question to the wrong person, you're going to get the wrong answer. When you ask the wrong question to the right person, you're going to get the wrong answer. Yes. You need to ask the right question to the right person. And I can share with you that there's always been a few people, think it's Nicolette and Bill and Richard have already booked some appointments with me. So I look forward to
Beautiful.
being able to share them and help them. I want them to know this is a genuine mentoring session. So I'm going in, have your questions ready. I'm going in to help you, make every single second count, to help you to the very best of my ability with the benefit. If you would, Rafael, would you be kind to repost the links for those that might have just joined us?
Sure. No
For
problem.
the and for those that are just joining us, by the way, only during this live session, which we're getting in the home stretch here,
Mhm.
anyone that would like to have a one mentoring session with myself, pro bono, which means free, and
Is that what it means?
and normally I would charge, and I charge for an hour $1,500 and get it all the time. Now, and people say, man, how can you charge? Attorneys get $200, $300 if they're good ones. How can you get $1,500? I said it's real simple. They're not paying me, and they look at you like, yeah, well, how are they not paying you? I said they're paying for the result. I said that's what they're paying for. I said they're not. It's just not. It's not about an hourly thing. It's not paying me 1,500. I said it's valuable for them to get the result that will come out of that time period, and that's what they're paying for. It's not the time per se. And so I know the results I can produce when I go in, and they do too usually. So, and helping them being able to do this. And again, I have to defer. My business mentor, these 1,000 millionaires, all these, the wonderful people that have been able to give me more stuff so that I could share with people and never be in the instance where, I don't have anything else to give. So I share with those, thank you for booking your time. I look forward to our time together. Have your questions ready for those that, are just coming on. This is only going to be during our live session. When Rafael ends our video streaming here, that's going to be end. The booking link will die right then too. So make sure if you're interested in getting that mentoring session with me pro bono, happy to do it. And so, but just make sure you click on the link and book it, because that's a booking link specifically for times I've set aside for that. Within the next, I think it's only like the next 3 weeks, and then the booking options close off because of other things I've got going. So I'm happy to be able to share with you, every one of you, and it's about your business, about what you want to have done, and the result that we can produce together in our time together. And of course,
Oh,
Raphael, who's always excellent, he's going to immediately look at what can he help you with, and what are the questions you can ask him with. The two things that both of us like to ask are, simply put, what's the biggest thing you need help with? And then what's the second biggest thing you need help with? And how can we help you with those things, and solve those problems? So
yeah.
book the mentoring session with myself. It's a $1,500 value, pro bono, will not cost you anything. It's not a pitchy session. You're not, this is to help you and help your business, and look forward to being able to do that. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and reposting those for us,
No
Raphael.
problem. Easily
Uh,
done. Also, not only did I put your link in, I put my link in too, because I'm also offering the same um, thing, a mentoring coach session
awesome.
with myself.
Awesome.
So we can both look. You can do one with EA, and you can do one with me. You can do both. So what an
And should.
opportunity!
And should.
Yes, they should, right? What an opportunity for someone to say, "Wow, I have two different coaches who have no interest in charging their fee, which is pretty high, and they're willing to give me their time, which I talked about time. Listen, if you said to me, I'm going to give you $10 million, but you're going to die in a year. But if you don't take the $1 million, cool, you get to live as long as you can. What do you think I'm going to do? $10 million? No. So there you go. Think of that way. How valuable is your time? And when you have two guys here who are very handsome, by the way, are willing to give you their time, take advantage. And it's only going to happen through this live chat. So go to EA's page, go to my page, book a time. Mine says 15 minutes. I'm going to not do 15. 15 might just be to say, hey, let's set up a time when you really can take down notes, when you can ask me a billion questions. We like that word billion. And really get the most out of that full hour. So I'm okay if we talk for 15, 20 minutes just to set things up. For me to ask you a couple of questions about what you want to accomplish. And then our session will be not about me, but about you, right? So, and I know Eli is the same. He's such a giver. So uh, thank you, Bill, for being here. I know he said he has to run. He's looking forward to the session with you, EA.
Thank you, and
Bill
Bill,
is,
I'm looking forward to it as well. I already have
yeah,
the information, so we're going to make that count for you and make every minute. Have your questions ready because we're going to
yeah,
hit them and we're going to hit the ground running and hopefully be able to help you in many many ways. And the same with Nicolette and Richard as well. Thank you so much for booking those and um, I'm excited about it. I love it. It's such a fun thing to be able to do. And when people go, oh, that's great. Oh, that's excellent. Oh man, that's
yeah,
going to help me so much. And that's so rewarding. And I have to say, I didn't make up any of these things. All of these things were taught by someone who mentored me or taught me. So we need to have good qualified mentors that are aware or have done what we want to do. If they haven't done it, then you're actually, no other way to put it, you're paying for them at their education at your expense.
yeah,
Talk to
exactly.
someone who's done it. You want to earn $1 million? Talk to someone who's made $1 million. If you wanted to,
Exactly.
have your mind game right, talk to someone who has their mind right. Talk to, like Rafael as an example, and they can look at some of those burnt out wires and help you rewire those to get the results that you want. So thank you very much for those that were listening, and thank you for Rafael for having me on and co-hosting with you. You're an awesome man, my friend, and I look forward
Good.
to our next event. I think we have our next event we're setting up as I think the 15th, right?
Correct. Correct.
15th,
So
with
in
October 15th at 12
two
o'clock.
weeks, 12
So
o'clock.
book it in all, everyone listening, put it in your calendar. And we're going to get into, it'll be Raphael and I, and we're going to cover some very specific information. I'm going to cover that one, the 7 biggest mistakes that business owners make and the 7 must do's that business owners must do. Those 14 things I'm going to cover, and Raphael has an agenda of what he's going to cover as well.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, with other events, we're going to have guest speakers on who are specialists in different ways. So Heroes Rising will always have new events with new speakers, new content, so you'll be able to come back and make this show a part of your upskilling.
Yeah. So one of the things is, you know, when we are hit with adversity, how do we handle it? Right. So I was hit with adversity. I had the link all set up and boom, kind of like went away. So I scrambled to make sure that we can get on even live now. So just realize that I'd love for anyone who's still here with us to tell us how you found out about it, right? How'd you find out about this event? And then I'm going to ask you to share the recording. They're not going to get the specials, but share the recording so that we can have more people participate in the next one. Because every time we're going to have nuggets for you, whether it's sessions. We're going to have other coaches. They're going to give you sessions. They're going to give you. Um, we have some authors coming up as well, so you might get a book signed. Who doesn't like a book signed by an author? That's like so cool. And so we have so many things planned for you guys. But here's the thing: I had trouble. Everything was perfect till last night, and then this morning, boof, everything blew up. But I didn't let that stop me. Why? I don't know how to quit. I don't know how to quit. How do I quit? I know the day I quit is my final day. But until then, I will never quit. I'll never quit on you if you're my client. I'll never quit on our friendship. I'll never quit on loving and being the best I can be. But here's the thing: tell us how you found out about us. And then I will always make sure to post our next one there because we need to be very active with what we're doing and plan, right? I hope you plan to see us next time.
Awesome.
Last thoughts, EA.
Hey, look forward to seeing everyone in the next show. Mark it on your calendars, the 15th at noon. Bring a little snack if you're at work or something,
Yeah.
and you can enjoy a little snack while you're listening to us, and maybe using some notes. And our objective is to help you really get where you want to go, and to help you give you feedback. We're going to have question and answer sessions later on, which we plan on doing. So
Right.
pretty much we're going to do like a 90-minute format, an hour between guest speaker and myself and with Rafael all together, and then like a 30-minute questions and answers where you by being there will be able to ask the person who we have as a guest questions that might
Right.
be able to help you significantly in your business. So rather than just presenting it all to you, we want to make sure it relates to you, and one of the best ways is for you to be able to ask, hey, how about this and how about that? And watch the feedback that you get that'll be able to help you. So we want to be able to bring people to you that will be great resources helping you going forward. So Rafael, thank you, my friend. Thank you for having me on a great show, and
One
I look
last
forward to
thing.
every 15. Yes, yes,
One
yes,
last thing, right?
yes.
You said it, and I didn't realize it, but you're absolutely 1,000% right on this one. If you can't watch because you're at work, because you have to be doing work, and we don't want you to lose your job, but can you hear it? Can you put a earpiece in your ear and listen to it? So yeah, you could, even though it's on YouTube, you could put it on your phone and listen to it. So thank you, EA. It was a
Awesome.
pleasure as
Thank you, Rafael.
always, and look forward to the next one.
You bet. Everyone have your best day ever.
Absolutely. So with that in mind, we are